Hi, and thanks for joining us here on Image Critique. I'm Rob Knoll, and as usual, joined in here with Bryan Caparici, and we are looking at a wedding reception shot in black and white. I think Bryan's going to start us off today.
Let's do it. So this is a photojournalism type shot, like it's candid, right? And the point that I think it's important to make, I mean, we're going to critique it, but when you're making an image like this, like there's only so much that you can do, especially when you're capturing a moment. Like this is a moment that happened very, very quickly. So you kind of just have to be in the right place, the right time, get the right focus, the right exposure, and capture the moment. So a lot of the things I think we'll say, take it with a grain of salt with that in mind. That being said, I still don't think that we can hide under the veil of photojournalism and not try and become better makers of a photojournalistic moment, right? Like I think that there's an element of you got to catch the moment, but there's still things that we can pay attention to make the visual representation of that moment better. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. Anyways, so
I'll make a comment on that when
cool.
you're done. But
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. So great storytelling on this image. Like for starters, I love mom's expression. I love the arm reaching out, and I'm making assumptions. I love dad's, this couple, I would assume this is mom and dad. I love how he's looking at her. I think that's wonderful. There's an element of storytelling going on here with the handkerchief in mom's hand that to me signals that she's been crying or that she's having an emotional moment and she's kind of into wiping her tears. Not sure if that's actually the case or not, but again, storytelling, and that's what it says to me. I also love, and this is just a really small detail, but there's obviously this table over here at the reception where we've got perhaps photographs of people that perhaps aren't with us anymore and that they're there now at the wedding reception in a photograph. And I just love that there's like this little element in here showing. I mean, that could be someone really special to the bride. It could not be. I don't know, but from a storytelling perspective, I kind of love that it's there. The only critique that I would have, or I guess some of the critiques I would have, if you're gonna have vertical lines in an image, it bothers me when they're a little bit sort of tilted. So that's just a little bit off. I would just kind of correct that. That being said, if you did that, you'd probably crop off mom's hand. So something that you may want to be aware of next time you make an image like this is just to try and keep your verticals vertical. And again, like I like the perspective of this image. This is shot with, I'm going to go ahead and say like a 16 millimeter or something pretty wide. It's not super flattering to her arm here. And so that's a little distracting and a little bit unflattering, but I love the field of view and how it kind of just pulls you into the moment. So I don't know what I would necessarily suggest to change that, but I would just kind of be aware of that. And the bride may not love this image for that reason. Talk to me.
Yeah, I'd completely agree with that comment. That's kind of where I was going to take that. Going back to what you were saying about the photojournalism thing, I guess it depends. I guess it kind of depends.
Right.
Like there's actually a photojournalistic wedding association.
Yeah.
And they have very strict standards of the work that they'll accept to get into that association. And there are some wedding photographers where they literally say to the bride and groom, if you're looking for like the nice portraits that are posed and everything's perfect, like I'm not the person you hire. Right. I capture honest moments as they happen, and that's all I do all day long. Yes. And so I think if that's the kind of photography you want, they're actually more like actual photojournalists that happen to do weddings. Right?
But that's not at the sacrifice of technical proficiency or compositional rules or those kinds of things.
Compositional rules sometimes
to an extent.
Yeah, like for instance, the vertical lines.
Yeah.
They're less bothered by that than maybe we would be, for normal photography.
Right.
So I guess first of all, when I look at this, the thing I notice right away is the tonality and processing is kind of all over the place a little bit. So I'm looking at this super bright spot here and around on her face compared to the skin tones in the arm. There's quite a difference between this one and that one. And it makes me feel as though this has been kind of overly manipulated. Same way here. It's like this sort of light area, whereas the skin on this side of the face is darker, which is funny because that's actually going to get probably more side or backlighting from that area there.
Like it's bounce flash or something like that.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird looking. Also, this really hard line on this arm here is this sort of bright area. And then the skin tones and the dress, everything gets very muddy looking here in terms of gray tones. and that's not so great. I do love the fact that you've got the bride in the photograph with the mom and the expression. Like, this sight line is just beautiful. I love that. I completely agree that if I were the bride, I probably wouldn't love this angle of my arm, and especially because of the lens choice. The hand is super small. Right. This area is super large. I think it's probably much larger than it actually is. And then even just sort of exposing all this back in there as well. I might be more inclined to sort of cut it more like that and tighten the shot up a fair bit so that it's much more about mom and less about all this stuff going up. We know it's inside of a tent, but we don't need to actually see all the framing and everything up at the top. I think that's just more of a distraction than anything. Good choice probably to turn this into black and white. I'm sure there are a lot of distracting colors going on in this photograph. So as a black and white journalistic shot at a wedding, I think photographers might enjoy this more than clients. That's my comment. We love it for this sort of captured moment and expression. My guess is the mother isn't going to like how this lighting and how this contrast is accentuating the bags under her eyes, the lines on her chin, the sort of tightness in the neck. We look at that and say, wow, what a great spontaneous image. I'm pretty sure the mother would say, oh my gosh, look how wrinkly I look.
See, my thought on that is, I wonder if the mother will look at that and say, like, I remember how I felt right then, and this image will bring her back. I don't know if she will or not. I guess it depends.
We don't know
right,
that,
right,
but my experience with my female clients
Yeah.
is that they're almost always more concerned about their appearance than they over the moment.
Yeah.
Which is sort of unfortunate sometimes, but it's a real moment. It's a candid moment. I love it. You love it.
Yeah.
Will the mom love it? Will the
Right.
bride love it? That's the thing.
Good question.
And you know what? That's the whole point of wedding photography, right? If you're taking, 1,000 images on a wedding day, you don't have to give them every single one. You have to give them the cream of the crop. And that's part of the editing process that's so important, is making those decisions about which pictures will be included in the final roster and which ones are taken out. I think this one should be included. I just think it should probably have some of the, like this really almost vignetted feel, like here, I think should be toned way down and just maybe slightly cropped in, and I'd keep it in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for submitting your image. If you'd like to have your image submitted for critique in this web episode series, send us a direct message on Instagram. We'll give you the link of where you can submit, and we'll see you over there.